Today we're going to go over some of the benefits and features and setup procedure on a 606 TRIMAX split frame clamshell. What you have when you come in a case is your split frame ring with your tool holders, and optional if you do pneumatic, electric, or hydraulic driven motor. Today we're going to use a pneumatic motor. We have them in heavy duty and light duty. So when the split frame is in two pieces to go around the pipe, it actually has a locking feature where it can't slide out from each other until it's bolted together. So we'll go ahead and bolt that together. So you'll notice that there are 4 bolts to bolt this together. There's 2 on the main frame, and then there's also 2 in the headstock. You always want to make sure you get all 4 of them tight. If the machine's together in the box, always double check to make sure they're tight if you're just slipping off the end of a piece of pipe. So now we're together and it'll rotate. You always want to make sure you're doing a couple of things, reading the ops manual for safety points, also tool block adjustments. Before getting started, you want to make sure your tool blocks are adjusted properly. Your next step would be to measure your pipe size on the OD. This is 6 5/8, 6-inch pipe. You come to the manual, and there's multiple sizes of machines in the same manual, so you want to make sure you pick out the right one. This is a 6-inch, so we're at the 606 TRIMAX. There's an optional if you want fixed pads, which is self-centering, or adjustable pads, which you can get more accurate with. And as you come across the bar, you pick out your size. You pick out the pad that you need. The pads come with the part number stamped onto it. We'll go ahead and put our pads in. So I'm just going to slide it over the end of the pipe, but you could open it up like it was before, put it on a solid run or in between valves. Another thing to mention is this machine has 3 different block sizes it could have. The number 1, number 2, and number 3. And if you had radial clearance problems where you couldn't have anything protruding the machine, you'd want the low profile ones, the number 1s. If you want the full range of how much you can get for lower pipe sizes, you would want the larger ones. So a feature of this machine is, from our older version, is this has an internal tripping system. So the tripper pin that does the axial feed on the tool blocks is no longer on the outside of the machine, causing pinch points and hazards for your hands. There's 2 locations that you can put tripper pins on the back. So looking at some of our tooling, we have a straight sever set where you could just cut it off. We have a sever bevel in a 3/4 size, but we also have a 37.5 or whatever bevel you're going to do, and a 1-inch so you could do heavier wall. The benefit also with having the 3/4 inch ones, you can use spacers and shim them back and forth to get right on your punch mark. Setting the tooling on the end of pipe punch mark. You want to pull it up on the bottom right there and rock it around. It'll help you find square. So I snug up one side, go to the opposite side, check your square, That way you can use it as a pivoting point. It's a lot easier to set up. Good and square there. Go ahead and snug that one up. We go back, double check the other side that we started with. Next would be center. Just picking a spot to measure at. 2 3/16. To center it with fully adjustable pads, you got to tighten the one side and loosen the other, shifting the center of the machine. If you want to be more accurate with your centering, you can use more precise scale. And now we're centered. But when we always go back and check the square, so it's square, center, square, in case it moved when we were centering it. Still square. Still tight. Go ahead and put our bevel bit in. So we got all our set screws tight, we got a sever bit in, a bevel bit in. What we want to do is you want to come down, find your highest point of the pipe, touch off your tool bit, back it up. 1, 2, 3 turns. You'll have to feed it back in, taking out the backlash, and line up your tripper pin sprocket on these lines. Your bevel bit, when you touch it off, you just back it up 3.5 turns. That way the leading bit, sever bit, is first. Take out your backlash, time it. We're going to use the heavy duty air motor. You'll notice it has multiple holes in the torque restraint bracket, so you can choose different locations if needed. Has a ball valve that you can use for throttle control, but you'll notice it also has a dead man switch for safety. These motors need to be ran with an air caddy, and so we have our air caddy and water separator. So one of the things you want to really watch for when you're cutting pipe is your ovality or outer roundness. As you're cutting through, the distance in between your sever bit and the bevel bit is what the land thickness will be at the end of the prep. But as you listened and you could hear it cutting through one spot first, meant I had some ovality problems. You want to stop there when it starts cutting through the first spot and just finish severing it the rest of the way off. So you end up with your lane consistency where you want it. And then that way the bevel doesn't continue to cut and get your end of pipe out of square. You can go on to TriTool's website and look at more tech tips and also more product line.